Fruit. The word fruit is a fleshy product of a tree. A fleshy side of a tree, product of a tree. Fruit represents part of the tree. Every tree bears fruit in its kind. Every tree bears in its kind. When we talk about fruit, it is important for me and you to know that every tree bears fruit in its own kind. If you want to know, if you want to get a bigger fruit, just simply plant the seed. No fruit, no fruit I repeat again, no fruit that look closely at that you will not see resemblance to the tree. Fruit that comes out of a tree can produce another. In other words, every fruit that comes out of a particular tree has in it the potential capability to produce another kind of that tree. In other words, if you see the tree and if you look at the fruit, you can simply see all the similarities. In short, as the fruit grows or is planted, it has the capability to become another tree. Galatians chapter 5 verse 22 to 25. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law. And they that are Christ have crucified the flesh with its lust and affection. Verse 25. If we live in the Spirit, let us also walk in the Spirit. I would like to first of all look at the similarities of these fruits and then of the gift. It is important for me and you to know that both of them come from the same Spirit. That is the Holy Spirit. If you look very well at the fruits in Galatians chapter 5, in verse 22 to 25, he mentioned the fruits: love, or you call it charity, peace, joy, long-suffering, endurance, gentleness, meekness. Verse 24 says, those that have this, means those that have Christ, have crucified the flesh, which means they naturally live this life. And now he mentioned the fruits that the flesh bears. In verse 21, he mentioned 21, he talked about adultery, witchcraft, envy, murdering. He says such a thing are things that come from the flesh. So in other words, whenever we see envy, whenever we see murders, whenever we see drunkenness, quarreling, whenever we see idolatry, fornication, when we see lasciviousness, uncleanness, hatred, quarrel, you know that the fruit is absent. The presence of the fruit is peace, goodness, faith, joy. He said these are the fruit of the Holy Spirit. You are still following. Haven't mentioned the fruit and also making you understand the flesh. Jesus said the works of the flesh. Jesus said in verse 24, those that have Christ can operate in the flesh. And in verse 25 says, if we live in the Spirit, let us also walk in it. I want to say this to you. When we talk about the Holy Spirit, there are two very important things the Holy Spirit offers to us. Jesus promised us he will come. And when he comes, he's going to open our eyes to mysteries of the kingdom. Jesus said in 1 Corinthians chapter 2, in verse 9 and 10, he said, eyes have never seen, ears have never heard, it has never come into the heart of man what God have in stock for us. He said, but it has been revealed to us by the one of the Holy Spirit. Now, the Holy Spirit, when he came down to the earth to see and dwell with us, he lists two very important agents that can help us to function effectively. Number one is the fruit, and the second one is the gift. The joyful part of them, both of them, is that they both come from the same source, which is the Spirit of the Most High God. Same source, which is the Holy Spirit of the living God. So the Holy Spirit is the one that gives the fruit of the Spirit. And apart from that, Apostle Paul, the same person who wrote this book, told us earlier that in 1 Corinthians chapter 12, that we have the gift of the Holy Spirit. He didn't talk about the fruit. He spoke to us about the gift of the Holy Spirit. And in that gift of the Holy Spirit, he said from one, he said, I don't want you to be ignorant of the gift of the Holy Spirit. He said, because without it, you cannot function effectively. Now, in other words, Apostle Paul began to mention the gift of the Holy Spirit. He categorized them. He mentioned them 9 and categorized them into 3. He talked about words of wisdom, word of knowledge, and he talked about the prophetic gift, healing gift, miraculous gift, gift of faith, gift of speaking in tongue, interpretation of